How do you know Steve?
I went to high school with them too. I was actually in between them in age. It was sort of the same situation. I mean, you know how it is when you're in high school. You kind of, everybody knows everybody, but maybe you're not really friends. I mean, I certainly was not friends with either one of them. I don't believe that I ever had a conversation with either one of them either. In fact, I think the very first conversation I ever had with Steve was my first interview with him. And at the time, he confessed that he didn't remember me at all. I said, hey, dude, we went to high school together, really? Sorry, man, I don't remember you. I produce radio for a living. I have for years, but it's commercial radio, which is all well and good. It's a lot of fun, and I enjoy it. But I produce advertising, so I do this on the side because it just gives me a chance to do a different style of writing and production that I'm able to do day in, day out at work, and also because having worked in radio for as long as I have, I'm very much in love with the medium and in love with the power of audio. So that's sort of a long-winded intro to how did I get into this. So I was actually just looking for another story. I had finished another project about a month before I got this idea. And I was driving to work one day listening to a talk show on our AM radio station, WIBX, and Steve was the featured guest. It was the first anniversary of his release. And I thought, wow, what a great story. And it's kind of funny because it was total self-interest at the time. I just thought, what a great story. Why don't I do a story on him? And I was able to get in touch with him because the news director at WIBX, I just happened to mention to him, hey, do you know how to get a hold of Steve? I heard he was on the show this morning. I'm thinking I'd like to do a piece on him. He said, well, I live with his sister. Yeah, I'll get you in touch. And that's how it happened. And once I first interviewed Steve was definitely the first interview I did for the piece, and I think the second interview was his mom. And after those two, I was hooked. I was all in. My attitude about it had changed. It was no longer about, ooh, I have a great idea, I'm going to work on this piece. It became a mission, and probably the project of this sort that I have been most passionate about of anything that I've worked on. A subject that I firmly believe in. Once I talked to these people, I just went, oh my God. This story has to get out in as many ways as possible, and to as many people as possible. And if I can have a little part of that, I'll be happy. How did this happen? I think the whole idea is why people should be interested in it and should be in some way passionate about it, because as Steve says in the piece, it can happen to anybody. And I think it's a good examination of, okay, so how did it happen to him? What are the reasons for wrongful conviction? Because if you look at the exonerations that have been secured by organizations like the Innocence Project, there's a commonality there. I mean, there's eyewitness misidentification, there's faulty forensics, there's police tunnel vision, false confessions. I mean, who would ever believe that? People confess to things that they didn't do. It happens a lot. So, when you really take a look and see how easily this can happen, and when you see all those pieces come together in his case, it's frightening. If people hear about these issues enough, if you get called and you're sitting in a jury box, you're going to look at it differently. You know what? Maybe he didn't do it.